You're a failure! You make nothing! I heard those words as Skylar threw the divorce papers in my face. The stack hit my chest and scattered across the kitchen floor like confetti at the world's worst party. I just stood there, calm, silent. Then I smiled. You're right. She blinked, her face twisted, half shock, half rage. That's it? She said. That's all you have to say? Yeah, I said. I'll sign tomorrow. She stared at me like I'd just spoken another language. My name is Preston West. I'm 31 years old, and this is the story of how my wife divorced a man she thought was broke and lost $50 million in the process. Let me take you back. 5 years ago, I met Skylar at a rooftop bar in downtown Seattle. She was stunning. Blonde hair, sharp green eyes, the kind of confidence that made you feel like you were lucky just to be in the room. I was 26, working in tech. Not flashy, not loud, just building. She liked that I was stable, dependable. Grounded, she called it. What she really meant was safe. We got married a year later, small wedding. Her family was there, big smiles, expensive watches, talk about portfolios and vacation homes. My side was quieter. My mom, a couple of friends from college, my best man, Derek, who worked construction and showed up in a rented suit. Skylar's father shook my hand at the reception and said, "Take care of my daughter, son." I nodded. "I will." He smiled, but his eyes said something else. "Don't embarrass us." The first year was good. We had a small house in Ballard. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, a garage I turned into a workspace, a backyard with a grill I barely used. I worked from home most days. Software development, freelance contracts, a couple of side projects I didn't talk about much. Skylar worked in marketing. She'd come home late, heels clicking on the hardwood, drop her bag on the counter and sigh like she'd just survived a war. "Rough day?" I'd ask. "You wouldn't understand," she'd say, pouring wine. I didn't push it, but I noticed things, small things, like how she never asked what I was working on, or how she'd roll her eyes when I mentioned a new client, or how, when her friends came over, she'd introduce me as Preston. He does computer stuff. Not my husband, not software developer, just computer stuff, like I fixed printers at Best Buy. There was this one night, about 2 years in, when we were at her parents' place for dinner. Her father asked me how work was going. "Good," I said. "Just closed a contract with a startup in San Francisco, equity-based compensation." He raised an eyebrow. "Equity? That's risky, son. You should be chasing salary." "It's calculated risk," I said. "The company's growing fast." Skylar's mother laughed. Not mean, but dismissive. "That's sweet," she said. "But you know what they say about startups. 9 out of 10 fail." Skylar didn't say anything. She just looked at her plate and cut her steak. I remember driving home that night, her staring out the window, silent. "You okay?" I asked. "Fine," she said, but I could feel it, the distance. I kept working, kept building, kept investing. I had this old navy blue Patagonia backpack I took everywhere. Inside, my laptop, a notebook, a cold brew thermos. That thermos became my anchor. Every morning I'd fill it. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. I'd sit in the garage, code running on 3 monitors, sipping that coffee and watching numbers move. Crypto, index funds, a couple of angel investments in companies no one had heard of yet. I didn't tell Skylar, not because I was hiding it, but because she never asked. By year 3, things shifted. She started going out more. Girls' nights, work events, weekends in Portland with college friends. I didn't mind. I had my routine. Garage, coffee, work, gym, repeat. But the comments started. "You're always in that garage. Do you even make real money doing this? My friend's husband just got promoted to VP. What are you doing?" I'd smile, nod, stay quiet. Because here's the thing about building wealth in silence. People assume you're broke. Then came the breaking point. About 6 months ago, Skylar came home from brunch with her friends. She dropped her purse on the counter, crossed her arms, and said, "We need to talk." I was at the kitchen table reviewing a contract. "What's up?" I said. "I'm not happy," she said. I looked up. "Okay, what do you need?" She laughed, sharp, bitter. "I need a husband who actually does something, Preston. Not someone who sits in a garage pretending to be an entrepreneur." I didn't react. "I work hard," she continued. "I bring in real money. And you're just here." "I'm building something," I said calmly. "Building what?" she snapped. "A fantasy?" I closed my laptop. "If that's how you feel," I said, "then we should probably figure this out." She stared at me, Hard. Yeah, she said. Maybe we should. That was the beginning of the end. The next few months were cold, polite, distant. We stopped eating dinner together. She stopped asking about my day. I stopped expecting her to. And then, 3 weeks ago, she came home late on a Thursday night. I was in the living room reading. She walked past me, went upstairs, and came back down with a manila envelope. She threw it on the coffee table. "What's this?" I asked. "Divorce papers," she said. "I already signed." I looked at the envelope, then at her. "Okay," I said. She laughed. "Okay? That's it? What do you want me to say?" "I don't know, Preston. Maybe fight for me? Maybe show some emotion?" I picked up the envelope, opened it, scanned the pages. Standard dissolution. No kids. Assets split 50-50. "When do you want to finalize this?" I asked. Her face went red. "Are you serious right now?" "Yeah," I said. "I'm serious." She grabbed her keys. "You're pathetic," she said. And she left. That was 3 weeks ago. Tonight, she came back, walked into the kitchen where I was making coffee, threw the papers at me again. This time, harder. "You're a failure! You make nothing!" I looked at the papers on the floor, then at her. Then I smiled. "You're right. That's it? Yeah, I'll sign tomorrow." She stood there, shaking, confused, furious. I picked up my thermos. "See you at the lawyer's office," I said, and I walked into the garage. Ever been called a failure by someone who was supposed to believe in you? Tell me your story. I'm listening. The lawyer's office was downtown, 15th floor, glass walls overlooking Elliott Bay. I arrived early, 7:45 a.m. Skylar wasn't there yet. I sat in the waiting area, thermos in hand, and watched the ferries cut through the gray water. The receptionist, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, smiled at me. "Coffee?" she offered. I lifted my thermos. "Got my own, but thanks." She nodded. "Smart man. Our coffee tastes like burnt rubber." I smiled. "First time here?" she asked. "Yeah." "Divorce?" "Yeah." She gave me this look, sympathetic but not pitying. "Hang in there," she said softly. "It gets better." I believed her. While I waited, I thought about how we got here. Not just the last 6 months, but the whole 5 years. Because Skylar didn't wake up one day and decide I was a failure. It was slow, gradual, like watching a plant die because you forgot to water it. Except I wasn't the one who stopped watering. Let me tell you about the early days. When we first moved into that house in Ballard, we were excited. Young, optimistic. We'd spend weekends at Pike Place Market. She'd pick out flowers. I'd buy salmon from the fish guys. We'd come home, cook together, drink cheap wine, and fall asleep on the couch watching Netflix. It was simple, easy. But somewhere around year 2, things shifted. Her job started demanding more. Bigger accounts, late nights, weekend travel. I didn't mind. I was building too. But the difference was this. She was climbing a ladder everyone could see. I was building something no one understood. I remember one night, maybe 2.5 years into the marriage, I tried to explain what I was working on. We were sitting at the kitchen table. She was scrolling through her phone. I was reviewing code. "Hey," I said, "can I show you something?" She looked up. "What?" I turned my laptop around. "This is a platform I've been developing. It's a back-end infrastructure tool for SaaS companies. Helps them scale without rebuilding their entire system." She stared at the screen. "Okay," she said. "I just signed my 3rd client," I said, "and I'm talking to a VC firm about potential acquisition." "That's great, babe," she said, but her eyes were already back on her phone. I closed the laptop. "You're not interested, are you?" She sighed. "Preston, I had a 14-hour day. I can't do tech talk right now." "I'm not doing tech talk," I said. "I'm telling you about my work." "I know," she said, "and I'm happy for you. Really. But can we talk about it later?" Later never came. That's when I started keeping things to myself. Not out of spite, not out of secrecy, but because what's the point of sharing your wins with someone who doesn't care? So I stopped mentioning the contracts, stopped talking about the equity deals, stopped explaining why I turned down a 6-figure salary offer from Amazon to keep building on my own. And Skylar? She filled the silence with assumptions. By year 3, those assumptions became her reality. Preston works from home. Preston does freelance stuff. Preston makes, I don't know, enough. Her friends would ask her what I did. She'd wave it off. Computer stuff, it's boring. One time at a dinner party, one of her friends asked me directly, "So, Preston, what exactly do you do?" Before I could answer, Skylar laughed and said, "He's basically a professional homebody, works in his pajamas and drinks coffee all day." Everyone laughed. I smiled, stayed quiet, but I felt it. The dismissal, the belittling. Not malicious, just careless. Like I was a pet project that didn't pan out. Here's what she didn't know. That platform I built, it sold. 18 months into our marriage, I sold it to a mid-sized SaaS company for $2.3 million. After taxes, I walked away with $1.4 million. I didn't tell her. Not because I wanted to hide it, but because I wanted to see if she'd ask. She never did. Instead, I took that money and invested it. Index funds, real estate, a couple of early-stage startups that looked promising. I also started angel investing, small amounts, $10,000 to $50,000 at a time, in founders I believed in. One of those companies was a fintech startup out of San Francisco. I put in $30,000. 3 years later, they got acquired by a major bank. My return? $4.7 million. Still, I said nothing. I kept living the same way. Same house, same routine, same coffee thermos. Because here's the thing about sudden wealth. It changes people. And I wanted to know who Skylar really was before money became part of the equation. Turns out, I got my answer. By year 4, her patience was gone. The comments got sharper. Do you ever plan on getting a real job? My friend's husband just bought them a lake house. What are we doing? I'm tired of being the breadwinner, Preston. I'd stay calm, rational. I'm doing fine, I'd say. Fine isn't enough, she'd snap back. There was this one night that really stuck with me. We were at her company's holiday party, fancy hotel ballroom, open bar, everyone dressed up. I wore a simple black suit. She wore a red dress that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. We were standing with a group of her co-workers, marketing directors, VPs, account managers. One guy, Chad, I'm not making that up, his name was actually Chad, asked me what I did. I work in software development, I said, mostly back-end infrastructure. Oh, cool, Chad said. You with one of the big firms, Microsoft, Amazon? No, I said. I'm independent. Chad raised his eyebrows. Freelance? That's tough, man. Steady income must be hard. I manage, I said. Skylar jumped in. He works from home. It's flexible. Chad nodded, but I could see it in his eyes. Oh, so he's unemployed. Later that night, in the car ride home, Skylar was quiet. You okay? I asked. Why didn't you tell Chad about your work? She said. I did. No, she said. You made it sound like you're barely scraping by. I said I'm independent. That's the truth. She laughed, bitter, sharp. Preston, you don't get it. People judge you by what you do. And right now you sound like you do nothing. I gripped the steering wheel. Does it matter what they think? I asked. Yes, she said. It does. That's when I realized she wasn't embarrassed for me. She was embarrassed of me. The next year, year 5, was the beginning of the end. She stopped inviting me to work events, stopped introducing me to her friends, stopped asking about my day. We became roommates, polite strangers sharing a house. I focused on my work, she focused on hers, and the gap between us grew wider. Then, about 8 months ago, something happened. One of my angel investments, a company I'd put $75,000 into, went public. My shares were worth $11 million. I didn't sell immediately. I waited, watched the market, diversified. By the time I liquidated strategically over the next few months, my total portfolio sat at $48 million, closer to $50 million after another small exit. I had accounts Skylar didn't know about, investments she'd never asked about, not because I was hiding them, but because she never cared enough to look. And here's the thing, I wasn't flashy. I didn't need to be. I still drove my 2012 Toyota Tacoma, still wore the same jeans and Patagonia jacket, still drank coffee from the same thermos, because money didn't change who I was, but it sure as hell revealed who she was. 6 months ago, Skylar started talking about our future. She wanted a bigger house, a new car, vacations to Europe. We need to start living, Preston, she'd say. We are living, I'd reply. No, she'd say. I'm living. You're just existing. I didn't argue. What was the point? She'd already made up her mind about who I was. Then came the breaking point. 3 months ago, her father had a health scare, heart attack, non-fatal but serious. Skylar was a wreck. I drove her to the hospital, stayed with her in the waiting room, held her hand. When her father stabilized, her family gathered in the hospital cafeteria. Her mother looked at me and said, "It's times like these that remind you what's important. Family, security, stability." Then she looked at Skylar. "You need a partner who can provide, sweetheart. Not someone who's still figuring it out. Skylar didn't defend me. She just nodded. And I knew. It was over. The divorce papers came 3 weeks ago. I read them carefully, reviewed every line. 50-50 split of assets, which, according to her, meant the house, the cars, her 401k, my minimal savings. She assumed I had maybe $30,000 or $40,000 in the bank. She had no idea. And tonight, when she threw those papers at me and screamed, "You're a failure! You make nothing!" I smiled, because she was right about one thing. I made nothing that she could see, and that was her biggest mistake. I looked at my watch. 7:58 a.m. The elevator dinged. Skylar stepped out. Designer bag, sunglasses, blonde hair perfect. She saw me and her jaw tightened. "Let's get this over with," she said. I stood up, thermos in hand. "After you," I said. "Where are you watching this from? Drop your city or state in the comments." The conference room was cold, not temperature-wise, just sterile. Gray walls, long table, leather chairs, a window overlooking the city. Skylar sat on one side. I sat on the other. Between us, her lawyer, a woman named Patricia something, mid-40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. My lawyer, Ron Chen, sat next to me. Older guy, calm, the kind of man who'd seen 1,000 divorces and knew exactly how this one would go. Ron had been my attorney for 3 years, helped me structure my investments, set up my LLCs, handle my contracts. He knew everything. Skylar's lawyer didn't. Patricia opened her briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. "Let's keep this simple," she said. "We've drafted a preliminary asset division based on the information provided by Mrs. West." She slid a folder across the table toward Ron. He opened it, scanned the pages, didn't react. I sipped my coffee and waited. Patricia continued. "As outlined, the marital home in Ballard will be sold. Proceeds split 50-50. Mrs. West's 401k remains hers. Mr. West's savings account, estimated at $35,000, will be split accordingly." I almost laughed. 35,000. Skylar had gone through our joint checking account, saw the balance, and assumed that was it. She didn't know about the brokerage accounts, the LLCs, the offshore holdings, the trust I'd set up 2 years ago. She didn't know because she never asked. Ron looked at me, raised an eyebrow. I gave him a small nod. He closed the folder and slid it back across the table. "We'll need to amend this," Ron said calmly. Patricia frowned. "Amend what?" "The asset disclosure," Ron said. "It's incomplete." Skylar's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" Ron looked at me. "Mr. West, do you consent to full financial disclosure at this time?" I set my thermos down. "Yeah," I said. "Let's do it." Ron reached into his briefcase and pulled out a different folder. Thicker, heavier. He slid it across the table to Patricia. "This is a complete accounting of Mr. West's assets," Ron said. "Bank accounts, investment portfolios, real estate holdings, business interests, all documented and verified." Patricia opened the folder. Her eyes went wide. Skylar leaned forward. "What is that?" Patricia didn't answer. She was reading, flipping pages, her expression shifting from confusion to shock. Skylar's voice got louder. "What is that, Patricia?" Patricia looked up, looked at me, then at Skylar. "Mrs. West," she said slowly, "when you filled out the preliminary financial disclosure, you estimated your husband's assets at approximately $35,000. Is that correct?" "Yes," Skylar said. "That's what's in our joint account." Patricia closed the folder. "Mrs. West," she said carefully, "according to this documentation, your husband's total net worth is approximately $49.7 million. Silence. The kind of silence that feels like the air just got sucked out of the room. Skylar stared at Patricia, then at me, then back at Patricia. "What?" she whispered. Ron spoke calmly. "Mr. West has been managing a diversified portfolio for the past 5 years. Software sales, angel investments, real estate, publicly traded equities, all acquired and managed during the marriage." Skylar's face went pale, then red, then pale again. "That's not possible," she said. "It's documented," Ron said. "Bank statements, tax returns, transaction histories, all verified." Patricia was still staring at the folder like it might explode. Skylar turned to me, her voice shaking. "You've had $50 million this whole time?" I leaned back in my chair. "Not the whole time," I said. "I built it. Slowly. Over 5 years. And you didn't tell me?" "You never asked." Her eyes flashed. "I never asked?" No, I said calmly. You didn't. You assumed I was broke. You told people I did computer stuff. You called me a failure, but you never once asked what I was actually working on. She stood up, chair scraping against the floor. This is insane, she said. You hid this from me. I didn't hide anything, I said. I just didn't broadcast it. There's a difference. Patricia cleared her throat. Mrs. West, please sit down. Skylar sat, but her hands were shaking. Patricia looked at Ron. If these assets were acquired during the marriage, they're subject to community property laws. Mrs. West is entitled to 50%. Ron nodded. Correct, which is why we're here, to negotiate a fair settlement. Skylar's face shifted, from shock to something else. Calculation. She looked at Patricia. So I get half? Potentially, Patricia said, depending on how the assets are classified. Some may be separate property if they were acquired through premarital efforts or inheritance, but the bulk of it, yes, you'd be entitled to half. Skylar sat back in her chair, and then she smiled. Not a happy smile, a cold one. Okay, she said. Then let's talk settlement. I watched her, studied her. This woman I'd been married to for 5 years. This woman who 30 minutes ago had called me a failure. And now? Now she was doing math in her head. 50% of 50 million. $25 million. Ron looked at me. Mr. West, would you like to take a break? Discuss options with me privately? No, I said. I'm good. Patricia pulled out a notepad. All right, let's start with the house. Mrs. West, you wanted to sell and split proceeds. Is that still your position? Skylar didn't answer right away. She was staring at me. Preston, she said, her voice softer now, almost sweet. Can we talk? Just the two of us? I shook my head. Anything you want to say, you can say here. Please, she said. Just 5 minutes. Ron looked at me. I nodded. 5 minutes, I said. We stepped out into the hallway. Skylar closed the door behind us. For a moment, she just stood there, arms crossed, looking at the floor. Then she looked up at me. Why didn't you tell me? She asked quietly. I did, I said. 3 years ago. I told you I was building something. You said it was boring. I didn't mean... Yes, you did, I said. You meant exactly that. She bit her lip, looked away. Preston, I made a mistake. Yeah, I said. You did. I don't want the divorce, she said suddenly. I laughed, couldn't help it. You threw papers at me last night, I said. You called me a failure. You told me I make nothing. I was angry, she said. I didn't mean it. You meant every word. She stepped closer, put her hand on my arm. We can fix this, she said. We can go back in there and tell them we're not going through with it. We can work on us. I looked at her hand on my arm, then at her face. She was trying. I'll give her that. Trying to salvage something she thought was worthless an hour ago. Skylar, I said, let me ask you something. What? If I didn't have that money, if I really was just some guy making $35,000 a year working from home, would you still want to stay married to me? She hesitated, just for a second, but I saw it. Of course, she said. You're lying, I said. I'm not. You are, I said. Because if I didn't have that money, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You'd be in there right now, dividing up the house and moving on with your life. She pulled her hand back. That's not fair, she said. It's the truth, I said. She stared at me, eyes watering. So that's it, she said. You're just done? I took a breath. 3 weeks ago, I said, you handed me divorce papers. You said you weren't happy. You said I wasn't enough, and I accepted that. I didn't fight. I didn't beg. I let you go. Preston, but now, I continued, now you find out I have money, and suddenly you want to work on things? Suddenly I'm worth fighting for? She didn't answer. That's not love, Skylar, I said. That's convenience. Her face crumpled. For a moment, I thought she might cry, but she didn't. Instead, she straightened up, wiped her eyes, took a breath. Fine, she said. If that's how you feel, then fine. But I'm still entitled to half. Community property. I'm not walking away from this with nothing. There it was, the real Skylar. Not the woman who wanted to fix the marriage, the woman who wanted to fix her bank account. I know, I said, and we'll handle it in there. Legally. Fairly. She laughed, sharp, bitter. You think you're so smart, don't you? No, I said. I just think I'm done. We walked back into the conference room. Patricia and Ron looked up. Everything okay? Patricia asked. No, Skylar said. She sat down, hard. We're moving forward with the divorce. Patricia nodded. Made a note. Ron looked at me. I gave him a small nod. Patricia cleared her throat. All right, let's discuss division of assets. Mr. Chen, does your client have a proposed settlement? Ron opened another folder. Mr. West is willing to offer a one-time settlement payment of $3 million, Ron said. In exchange, Mrs. West waives all claims to future earnings, investments, and business interests. Skylar's eyes went wide. $3 million? You've got $50 million and you're offering me $3? It's a fair offer, Ron said calmly. The majority of Mr. West's assets were generated through intellectual property, business acumen, and strategic investments, efforts that predate the marriage or were conducted independently during it. We're prepared to argue separate property classification for a significant portion of his portfolio. Patricia frowned. That's a stretch, Mr. Chen. Perhaps, Ron said, but we're confident. And litigation is expensive, time-consuming, stressful. He looked at Skylar. $3 million. Clean. Simple. Final. Skylar looked at Patricia. Can he do that? Patricia hesitated. It's complicated. Washington is a community property state, but there are exceptions. If his assets were acquired through separate property sources, intellectual property created before marriage, for example, they could be classified differently, but it would require significant legal analysis, and it could take months, maybe years. Skylar's jaw tightened. I want half, she said. Then we'll see you in court, Ron said simply. Patricia looked at Skylar, then at me. Can we have a moment? Patricia asked. Ron nodded. We stepped out again. This time I stood by the window, looked out at the city. Ron stood next to me. You sure about this? He asked quietly. Yeah, I said. She might fight it. Could get messy. Let her, I said. Ron smiled. You've changed, Preston. How so? You used to avoid conflict. Now you're walking straight into it. I sipped my coffee. I'm not avoiding anything anymore, I said. 10 minutes later, we went back inside. Skylar's face was red, puffy. She'd been crying. Patricia looked tired. My client would like to make a counteroffer, Patricia said. Ron nodded. We're listening. $10 million, Patricia said. Final settlement. Ron didn't even look at me. No, he said. Skylar's voice cracked. Preston, please. No, I said. Why are you doing this? She asked. Why are you punishing me? I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm protecting myself from someone who only values me when I'm useful. Skylar stood up. This isn't over, she said. Yes, I said. It is. She grabbed her bag, looked at Patricia. We're leaving, she said. Patricia gathered her files, gave Ron a curt nod, and they walked out. The door closed. Ron sat back in his chair, exhaled. Well, he said, that went about as expected. I stared at the closed door. She'll come back, Ron said. Give her a week, maybe 2. She'll realize fighting this in court will cost her more than accepting the settlement. And if she doesn't? I asked. Ron smiled. Then we win in court, and she gets nothing. I finished my coffee, looked out the window. The ferries were still moving, the city still turning, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt free. What would you have done in my place? Be honest. I didn't go home right away. After the meeting, I sat in my truck in the parking garage for 20 minutes. Engine off, windows down, just breathing. My phone buzzed. Skylar. We need to talk. Please. I didn't reply. Another buzz. Preston, I'm sorry. I was shocked. I didn't handle it well. Can we please just talk? I turned my phone face down on the passenger seat, started the engine, and drove. I ended up at a coffee shop in Fremont. Small place, local, the kind where they know your order if you come in more than twice. I sat by the window with my thermos, still half full from this morning, and watched people walk by. Couples, families, solo joggers with dogs, everyone moving forward with their lives. I wondered how many of them were pretending. How many were staying in relationships that had died years ago? How many were waiting for permission to leave? My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Skylar. It was my mom. I answered. Hey, Ma. Preston, she said, her voice warm, steady. How are you, honey? I'm good, I said. Just dealing with some stuff. Skylar told me you two are getting divorced. I closed my eyes. Of course she did. Yeah, I said. We are. There was a pause. I'm sorry, sweetie, my mom said. I know that's hard. It's okay, I said. It's been coming for a while. Another pause. She called me this morning, my mom said carefully. She was pretty upset. I bet, She said you've been hiding money from her. I laughed. Couldn't help it. I wasn't hiding anything, Ma. She just never asked. That's what I told her, my mom said. I said, Skylar, Preston's always been smart with money. If you didn't know what he was doing, that's on you. I smiled. What did she say? She hung up on me. I laughed again. A real one this time. You okay, though? My mom asked. Really? Yeah, I said. I think I am. Good, she said. Because you deserve better than someone who only loves you when it's convenient. We talked for a few more minutes. She told me about her garden, her book club, her neighbor's new puppy. Normal stuff. The kind of stuff that reminds you the world keeps spinning no matter what's happening in your life. Before we hung up, she said, Preston? Yeah, I'm proud of you. I felt something tighten in my chest. Thanks, Ma. I mean it, she said. You worked hard. You stayed humble. You didn't let money change who you are. That's rare. I learned from you, I said. Well, she said, your dad would have been proud too. My dad died when I was 19. Heart attack. No warning. He was a mechanic. Owned a small shop in Tacoma. Never made a lot of money, but he was good at what he did. Honest. Fair. Hardworking. He taught me two things. 1. Don't brag about what you have. Let your work speak for itself. 2. People will show you who they are if you give them enough time. I thought about that a lot over the past 5 years. Skylar showed me exactly who she was. I just didn't want to see it. I stayed at that coffee shop until late afternoon. Then I drove to the gym. I needed to move, to sweat, to stop thinking. I ran on the treadmill for 40 minutes, lifted weights, did pull-ups until my arms burned. By the time I left, it was dark. My phone had 17 missed calls, 15 from Skylar, 2 from her mother. I didn't listen to the voicemails. When I got home, Skylar's car was in the driveway. I parked next to it, grabbed my gym bag, walked to the front door. She was sitting on the porch steps. When she saw me, she stood up. Preston, she said. I unlocked the door. You shouldn't be here. I live here, she said. Not anymore, I said. You filed for divorce. You don't get to just show up. Please, she said. Just listen to me. I turned around, looked at her. She'd been crying, makeup smudged, eyes red. Part of me felt bad. The other part remembered this morning. You're a failure. You make nothing. What do you want, Skylar? She took a breath. I want to apologize. Okay, I said. Apology heard. I turned back to the door. Preston, wait. No, I said. You don't get to do this. You don't get to scream at me one day and then show up crying the next because you realized I'm not who you thought I was. I was wrong, she said. I know I was wrong. Yeah, I said. You were. I walked inside. She followed me. Preston, please. Skylar, leave. No, she said. Not until you hear me out. I dropped my bag on the floor, turned around. Fine, I said. Talk. She stood in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself. I didn't know, she said. I swear I didn't know you were doing so well. You never said anything, you never showed it. That's the point, I said. I didn't need to show it. I'm not flashy. I don't need a new car or a big house to feel successful. I was happy with what we had. I wasn't, she said quietly. I nodded. I know. But that doesn't mean I don't love you, she said. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Skylar, I said. Do you even know what I do for a living? She blinked. You work in software. What kind of software? I don't know. Back-end stuff? What does that mean? She hesitated. I don't know. Exactly, I said. You've been married to me for 5 years and you don't know what I do. You don't know what I'm working on. You don't know what I'm passionate about because you never asked. I'm asking now, she said. It's too late, I said. She stepped closer. Preston, I made a mistake. I got caught up in my job, in what my friends were doing, in what my parents expected. I stopped seeing you. I know that. But I want to fix it. Why? I asked. Because you love me? Or because you just found out I'm worth $50 million? She flinched. That's not fair, she said. Answer the question. She looked away. Both. At least she was honest. Skylar, I said. If I was still the guy you thought I was this morning, the guy making $35,000 a year working from home in his pajamas, would you be here right now? She didn't answer. Would you? I pushed. I don't know, she whispered. Yeah, I said. You do. She started crying again. Real tears this time. I don't want to lose you, she said. You already did, I said. 6 months ago. A A year ago. Maybe longer. You just didn't realize it until today. That's not true. It is, I said. And you know it. She wiped her face, took a shaky breath. What do you want me to do? She asked. Beg? I'll beg. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't do this. I don't want you to beg, I said. I want you to leave. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she nodded, picked up her purse, walked to the door. Before she left, she turned around. I really did love you, Preston, she said. Maybe not the way I should have, but I did. I know, I said, and I meant it. I think she did love me, in her own way, just not enough. After she left, I sat on the couch in the dark for a long time. The house was quiet, too quiet. I thought about calling someone, Derek, my mom, Ron, but I didn't. I just sat there, and I realized something. I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. I was relieved. The next few days were strange. Skylar texted me every day. I miss you. Please reconsider. We can make this work. I'm willing to go to therapy. I didn't respond. On day 3, the texts changed. You're really going to throw away 5 years over this? I made one mistake. You're being cruel. I blocked her number. Ron called me on day 4. Patricia reached out. He said, Skylar wants to negotiate. What's the offer? I asked. She'll accept $5 million, Ron said. No, Preston, $3 million, I said. That's the offer. She can take it or leave it. Ron sighed. You know she could fight this in court and potentially get more. Let her try, I said. All right, Ron said. I'll relay the message. On day 7, Skylar's mother called me. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Hello? Preston? She said, her voice cold, clipped. We need to talk. About what? About what you're doing to my daughter. I almost laughed. What I'm doing to her? I said. Mrs. Fletcher, your daughter filed for divorce. She threw papers at me. She called me a failure. I didn't do anything except agree to her terms. You lied to her, she said. You hid your wealth. I didn't hide anything, I said. Your daughter never asked. She assumed. And now she's upset because her assumptions were wrong. She deserves half of what you have, Mrs. Fletcher said. She was your wife, and she'll get a fair settlement, I said. But she's not entitled to half of something she never valued in the first place. You're being vindictive, she said. No, I said. I'm being fair. She huffed. My daughter made a mistake. Your daughter made a choice, I said. And now she has to live with it. I hung up. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the early days, when things were good, when we'd stay up late talking about everything and nothing, when she'd laugh at my bad jokes, when we'd cook dinner together and dance in the kitchen. What happened? When did we stop being a team? When did I become a burden? I got up, made coffee, sat in the garage, my workspace. 3 monitors, dual keyboards, a whiteboard covered in notes and diagrams. This is where I built everything. While Skylar was at work events and brunches with friends, I was here, writing code, analyzing markets, making deals. She thought I was wasting time. I was building a future, our future, except she didn't want it. She wanted someone else's future, someone flashier, someone more impressive, someone she could show off. I opened my laptop, checked my accounts. $49.7 million. It felt surreal. I thought about what I could do with it, travel the world, buy a house on the water, start a foundation, but none of it felt exciting. Because what's the point of having everything if you have no one to share it with? My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Heard about the divorce, man. You good? I typed back. Yeah, I'm good. Want to grab a beer? I smiled. Yeah, I do. We met at a dive bar in Ballard. Pool table, jukebox, cheap beer. Derek was already there when I arrived. Big guy. 6'3", construction worker, hands like hammers. He stood up when he saw me, pulled me into a hug. You look like shit, he said. Thanks, I said. We sat down, ordered beers. So, Derek said, you want to talk about it? Not really, I said. Fair enough. We drank in silence for a minute. Then Derek said, for what it's worth, I never liked her. I looked at him. Seriously? Seriously, he said. She always looked at you like you were, I don't know, less than. Yeah, I said. I noticed. So why'd you stay? He asked. I thought about it. I guess I kept hoping she'd see me, I said. Really see me. Not who she wanted me to be, just me. Derek nodded. And did she? No, I said. Not until it was too late. We played pool, drank more beer, talked about nothing important. It felt good, normal. Around midnight, Derek said, you know what you need? What? A reset, he said. Get out of town, clear your head. Figure out what you want. Maybe, I said. I'm serious, Derek said. You've been grinding for 5 years, building this empire. And for what? For someone who didn't even appreciate it. It wasn't just for her, I said. I know, Derek said. But still, you deserve to enjoy it, man. Go somewhere. Do something crazy. Live a little. I finished my beer. Maybe you're right, I said. When I got home that night, I stood in the driveway and looked at the house. Our house. Except it wasn't ours anymore. It was just a house. I walked inside, grabbed my thermos from the kitchen counter. It was empty. I rinsed it out, set it on the drying rack, and I realized I didn't need to fill it tomorrow. I didn't need to sit in the garage and work. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. For the first time in 5 years, I was free. The next morning I called Ron. Tell Patricia we're done negotiating, I said. $3 million, final offer. She has 48 hours to accept or we go to court. You sure? Ron asked. I'm sure, I said. All right, Ron said. I'll let them know. I hung up, poured a fresh cup of coffee into my thermos, and I smiled. Where are you watching this from? Drop your city or state in the comments. 48 hours passed. No response from Skylar's lawyer. On hour 49, my phone rang. Ron. They accepted, he said. I set down my coffee. The $3 million? Yes. Patricia just sent over the signed agreement. Skylar waives all claims to your assets in exchange for a lump sum payment of $3 million. Clean break. No alimony. No future claims. I exhaled slowly. When do we finalize? I asked. 2 weeks, Ron said. Judge signs off, money transfers, and you're done. Good, I said. Ron paused. You okay, Preston? Yeah, I said. I think I am. That afternoon, I was cleaning out the garage when I found it. A cardboard box, shoved behind my filing cabinet. I pulled it out, opened it. Inside, old photos, birthday cards, a ticket stub from our first date, and underneath all of that, a notebook. Skylar's notebook. I recognized the cover. Purple, leather bound. She used to carry it everywhere during our first year of marriage. I opened it. The first few pages were normal. Shopping lists, work notes, doodles. Then I found an entry dated 3 years ago. Lunch with Mom today. She asked how Preston's computer thing is going. I didn't know what to say. Honestly, I don't even know what he does all day. He sits in that garage for hours. I feel like I'm married to a ghost. I kept reading. Went to Rachel's engagement party. Her fiancé is a surgeon, makes $400,000 a year. Mom kept asking me what Preston makes. I lied and said 6 figures. I don't actually know. Is that bad? That I don't know? Preston tried to show me something on his laptop today. Some platform he built. I pretended to care, but honestly, I was exhausted. I don't understand tech stuff. I don't understand him anymore. Dad asked me today if Preston and I are financially stable. I said yes. But the truth is, I have no idea. We have a joint checking account with maybe $40,000 in it. Is that enough? Is that normal? Everyone else seems to be doing so much better. I closed the notebook. Sat there on the concrete floor of the garage. She wasn't lying when she said she didn't know. She really didn't. But the question wasn't whether she knew. The question was, why didn't she care enough to ask? I flipped to the last entry, dated 6 months ago. I don't think I love him anymore. I don't know when it happened. Maybe it's been slow. Maybe it's been years. But when I look at him now, I don't feel anything. Just disappointment. He's a good man, but he's not the man I thought he'd become. I closed the notebook, put it back in the box, and I felt something strange. Not anger, not sadness, relief, because now I knew. It wasn't about the money. It was never about the money. It was about who she thought I should be, and I was never going to be that person. That night, Derek called. Heard you settled, he said. Yeah, I said. $3 million. She signed. Derek whistled. That's generous, man. It's fair, I said. So what now? Derek asked. I don't know, I said. I've been thinking about your advice. Maybe I do need a reset. Where would you go? I don't know, I said. Somewhere quiet, somewhere I can think. Montana, Derek said immediately. Montana? Yeah, my buddy owns a cabin up there, middle of nowhere. No cell service, just mountains and silence. I'll text you his number. I smiled. Thanks, man. Anytime, Derek said. And hey, you did the right thing. Walking away? Not everyone has the guts to do that. 2 days later, I was packing. I wasn't taking much. Clothes, laptop, my thermos. I was standing in the bedroom when I heard the front door open. Preston? Skylar. I walked downstairs. She was standing in the living room holding a box. What are you doing here? I asked. I came to get my things, she said quietly. Is that okay? Yeah, I said. That's fine. She walked past me toward the bedroom. I followed. She started packing. Clothes from the closet, jewelry from the dresser, photos from the nightstand. We didn't talk. After a few minutes, she stopped. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. About the money. About what you were building. Why did you keep it to yourself? I leaned against the doorframe. Because I wanted to see if you'd love me without it, I said. She looked down. And? You didn't. She bit her lip. Nodded. I'm sorry, she said. I know, I said. She finished packing. Carried the box downstairs. At the door, she turned around. For what it's worth, she said. I hope you find someone who sees you. Really sees you. Thanks, I said. She nodded. Opened the door. Then she stopped. Preston? Yeah? You were always enough, she said. I just didn't know it. And she left. I stood there for a long time after she was gone. Then I grabbed my thermos, filled it with coffee, and I walked out the door. What would you have done in my place? Be honest. 3 days later, I was in Montana. Derek's buddy's cabin was exactly what I needed. 1 room, wood stove, a porch overlooking a valley that stretched for miles. No Wi-Fi, no cell service, just silence. I spent the first 2 days doing nothing. Reading, hiking, sitting on the porch with my thermos and watching the sun move across the sky. It was the first time in years I'd felt still. On the 3rd day, I drove into the nearest town, a tiny place called Prospect, to get supplies. That's when my phone caught signal. 17 missed calls, 10 voicemails, all from numbers I didn't recognize. I pulled into a parking lot and listened to the first one. Mr. West, this is Jennifer Caldwell from the Seattle Times. We're running a story about high net worth individuals in the Seattle tech community and your name came up. We'd love to speak with you. Please call me back. I frowned. Deleted it. Next voicemail. Preston, it's Chad. From Skylar's old company Christmas party. Hey man, I heard about you and Skylar. Crazy stuff. Listen, I'm working on a startup and I'd love to pick your brain about potential investment opportunities. Delete. Next. Hi Preston, this is Vanessa Chen from Pacific Northwest Business Journal. We're doing a feature on Seattle's quiet millionaires and we understand you've built significant wealth through strategic investments. We'd love to feature you. Delete. I went through all 10 voicemails, reporters, old acquaintances, people I barely knew asking for money, advice, meetings. How did they even get my number? I drove back to the cabin, turned my phone off, but the damage was done. Someone had leaked the story, and I had a pretty good idea who. 2 days later, I drove back into town, turned my phone on just long enough to call Ron. Preston, he said, I've been trying to reach you. I've been off grid, I said. What's going on? Ron sighed. Skylar gave an interview. My stomach dropped. To who? Seattle Weekly, Ron said. It came out yesterday. She's painting you in a pretty negative light. What did she say? She said you hid assets, that you manipulated her, that you're cold and calculating, that you refused to give her a fair settlement even though you're worth 50 million. I closed my eyes. Did she mention the 3 million? No, Ron said. She conveniently left that part out. Of course she did, Ron continued. There's more. She's claiming emotional distress, says the marriage ended because you were emotionally unavailable and obsessed with money. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Preston, this isn't funny, Ron said. This could affect your reputation, your business relationships. Let it, I said. What? Let her talk, I said. Anyone who knows me knows the truth, and anyone who doesn't? I don't care what they think. Ron was quiet for a moment. You're sure about this? I'm sure, I said. I'm not going to defend myself to strangers. I'm not going to play her game. All right, Ron said. But if this escalates, if she goes on TV or tries to sue for more, we need to respond. Then we'll respond, I said. But not today. I hung up, sat in my truck in the parking lot of a gas station in the middle of nowhere, and I thought about Skylar, the woman I married, the woman I thought I knew. How did we get here? That night I was sitting on the cabin porch when I heard a vehicle coming up the dirt road. Headlights. A beat-up Jeep. It parked next to my truck. A man got out. Mid-50s. Flannel shirt. Work boots. You, Preston? He called out. Yeah, I said. He walked up to the porch, extended his hand. Name's Tom. I own this place. Derek told me you were up here. We shook hands. Thanks for letting me stay, I said. No problem, Tom said. He looked at me for a moment. You okay, son? Yeah, I said. Just needed some space. Tom nodded. Derek said you're going through a divorce. Went through, I said. It's done. Good, Tom said. That means the hard part's over. I wasn't so sure. Tom sat down on the porch steps. Mind if I tell you a story? He asked. Go ahead, I said. Tom pulled out a pack of cigarettes. Lit one. I was married once, he said. 23 years. Thought we'd grow old together. Then one day she told me she didn't love me anymore. Said she hadn't for years. Said she stayed because it was easier than leaving. Damn, I said. Yeah, Tom said. It hurt. A lot. But you know what hurt more? What? Realizing she was right, Tom said. We'd both been going through the motions, playing house, pretending we were happy when we weren't. He took a drag. Exhaled slowly. After the divorce, I moved up here. Built this cabin. Started over. And you know what I learned? What? Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is the best thing that could have happened, Tom said, because it forces you to stop lying to yourself. We sat there in silence for a while. Then Tom stood up. You staying long? He asked. I don't know, I said. Maybe. Well, Tom said, you're welcome to stay as long as you need. No rush. Thanks, I said. He walked back to his Jeep, then turned around. One more thing, he said. Yeah? That woman you were married to? The one who's talking to reporters? Yeah. She's scared, Tom said. Scared of what? That people will figure out the truth, Tom said. That she made a mistake. That she threw away something good because she didn't know what she had. So she's spinning the story, making herself the victim, making you the bad guy. Probably, I said. Don't let her rewrite history, Tom said. You know what happened. That's all that matters. And he drove off. I sat on that porch until midnight, thinking about everything Tom said, about Skylar, about the interview, about the truth. And I realized something. I didn't need to defend myself. I didn't need to explain. The people who mattered, my mom, Derek, Ron, Tom, they knew who I was. Everyone else, they could believe whatever they wanted. The next morning I woke up early, made coffee, filled my thermos, sat on the porch and watched the sunrise. My phone was still off, and for the first time in weeks, I felt clear. Skylar could tell whatever story she wanted. It didn't change the truth. She chose to leave. She chose to see me as less than. She chose money over love, not me, her. I spent the next week in Montana, hiking, reading, thinking. I didn't check my phone, didn't read the news, didn't care what people were saying. I just existed, and it was exactly what I needed. On my last day, Tom stopped by again. Heading out? He asked. Yeah, I said. Time to go home. Good, Tom said. You look better. I feel better, I said. Tom nodded. You figure out what you're gonna do next? Not yet, I said, but I will. Well, Tom said, whatever it is, do it for you, not for anyone else. I smiled. I will. I drove back to Seattle the next day. 8 hours on the road, just me and my thoughts. By the time I pulled into my driveway, it was dark. The house was empty, quiet, but it didn't feel lonely anymore. It felt like possibility. I walked inside, set my bag down, filled my thermos, and I opened my laptop. 17 emails from reporters. I deleted all of them. 3 emails from Ron. I opened the first one. Preston, Skylar's interview got picked up by a few outlets. Nothing major. Let me know if you want to respond. I typed back. No response needed. Let it blow over. I hit send, and I closed the laptop. That night, I stood in my garage. My workspace. 3 monitors, keyboards, whiteboards. This is where I built everything. And I realized Skylar was never part of this. She was never part of my vision. She was just there. And now she wasn't. And that was okay. I picked up my thermos, took a sip, and I smiled. Because the truth was finally clear. I didn't lose anything in this divorce. I gained everything. My freedom, my peace, my future. And no interview, no story, no lie could take that away from me. What would you have done in my place? Be honest. I thought it would blow over. It didn't. 3 days after I got back from Montana, Derek called. Bro, have you seen this? He asked. Seen what? Skylar's on a podcast. I closed my eyes. What podcast? Some relationship advice show. Modern Love Stories or something. She's talking about narcissistic partners and financial abuse. I sat down. You're kidding. I wish I was, Derek said. She's not using your name, but man, it's obvious who she's talking about. I found the episode online, 43 minutes long. I listened to the whole thing. Skylar's voice, calm, measured, victim-like. I was married to someone who presented himself as humble and grounded, but the truth is he was hiding who he really was. He had wealth, significant wealth, and he kept it from me. Not because he was private, but because he wanted control. The host. That must have been so difficult to discover. Skylar. It was devastating. I spent 5 years thinking we were building a life together, struggling together, and the whole time he was sitting on millions of dollars watching me stress about bills, about our future. It was psychological manipulation. I turned it off. Ron called an hour later. Have you heard it? He asked. Yeah. Preston, we need to respond. This is defamation. She's accusing you of financial abuse. She didn't use my name, I said. She doesn't have to, Ron said. Everyone knows who she's talking about. This could affect your business reputation, future partnerships. Let it, I said. Preston, Ron, I'm serious. I'm not playing this game. She wants attention? Fine. Let her have it. But I'm not giving her the satisfaction of responding. Ron was quiet for a moment. All right, he said. But if this escalates further, if she names you directly, we need to act. Then we'll act, I said. But not today. The next day, I got a text from my mom. Honey, I just heard Skylar on a podcast. Are you okay? I called her. I'm fine, Ma. She's lying, my mom said, her voice sharp, protective. She's lying about you and people need to know that. Some people will believe her no matter what I say, I said. And the people who matter? They already know the truth. I know, but, Ma, I said gently, I appreciate you, but I need to let this go. Fighting her just gives her more ammunition. My mom sighed. You're a better person than I am. I smiled. I learned from the best. That afternoon, I went to the gym. I needed to move, to sweat, to stop thinking. I was on the treadmill when I heard someone call my name. Preston? I looked over. Chad, Skylar's old co-worker from the Christmas party. He walked over, all smiles. Hey man, I heard about you and Skylar. That's rough. I slowed the treadmill. Yeah, I listened to her podcast episode, Chad said. Pretty intense stuff. I didn't respond. Chad leaned against the machine. So, is it true? You were sitting on 50 million the whole time? I stopped the treadmill, looked at him. Why do you care? I asked. Chad blinked. I'm just asking, man. No judgment. You're asking because you want to know if I'm worth talking to, I said. Chad laughed uncomfortably. Come on, that's not... It is, I said. And the answer is, it's none of your business. I grabbed my towel and walked away. That night, I got a Facebook message from Skylar's mother. Preston, I don't know what game you're playing, but you're hurting my daughter. She's struggling, depressed. You got what you wanted. You kept your money. Now leave her alone. I stared at the message. Then I typed back, Mrs. Fletcher, I haven't contacted Skylar once since the divorce was finalized. She's the one giving interviews. She's the one on podcasts. I'm just trying to move on with my life. I suggest she does the same. I hit send. She responded immediately. You're heartless. I didn't reply. 2 days later, the story went viral. Not because of Skylar's podcast, but because someone on Reddit found the interview, connected the dots, and posted about it. Seattle tech guy quietly builds $50 fortune while wife thinks he's broke, then divorces her and gives her only $3. Is he a genius or a monster? The thread exploded. Thousands of comments. Half the people said I was smart, strategic, that Skylar got what she deserved. The other half said I was cruel, manipulative, that I emotionally abused her by withholding financial security. I didn't read all of it, but I read enough. My phone started ringing nonstop. Reporters, bloggers, podcast hosts. I ignored all of them. Derek called. Bro, you're famous. I don't want to be famous, I said. Too late, Derek said. You're a meme now. There's literally a TikTok trend about you. Great, Derek laughed. For what it's worth, most people are on your side. I don't care whose side they're on, I said. I just want this to be over. Then make a statement, Derek said. Set the record straight. No, I said. That's what she wants. She wants me to engage, to fight back, to make this bigger. So what are you gonna do? Nothing, I said. I'm going to live my life, and eventually people will move on to the next story. But it didn't stop. The next week, Skylar went on a local morning show. This time, she used my name. Preston West was my husband, And yes, he's a smart man, a successful man, but he's also someone who values money over people, over relationships, over love. The host. Do you regret marrying him? Skylar. I regret not seeing who he really was sooner. Ron called immediately after the segment aired. That's it, Ron said. We're responding. She just defamed you on live television. What do you want to do? I asked. Cease and desist letter, Ron said. If she continues making false statements, we'll sue for defamation. I thought about it. Then I said, do it. The letter was sent that afternoon. By evening, Skylar's lawyer responded. Our client stands by her statements. Mr. West's actions constitute emotional and financial manipulation. If he pursues legal action, we will countersue for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Ron read it to me over the phone. They're bluffing, he said. They have no case. Maybe, I said. But this is exactly what I didn't want. A public legal battle. Then what do you want to do? Ron asked. I thought about Tom, about Montana, about the quiet. I want to disappear, I said. That night I sat in my garage, the place where I built everything, and I realized it wasn't enough to just stay quiet. Skylar was going to keep talking, keep spinning, keep playing the victim, because that's who she was, someone who needed validation, attention, sympathy, and I couldn't stop her, but I could remove myself from the narrative. I called Ron the next morning. I'm leaving Seattle, I said. What? I'm selling the house, liquidating some assets, and I'm leaving. Preston, you don't have to do that. I want to, I said. This city, this life, it's tied to her, to us. I need a clean break. Ron was quiet. Where will you go? I don't know yet, I said. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere no one knows my name. All right, Ron said. I'll help you set it up. 2 weeks later, the house was on the market. I packed everything I cared about into my truck. Clothes, laptop, a few books, and my thermos. I stood in the driveway one last time, looked at the house. 5 years of my life, 5 years of building, hoping, believing, and now it was over. Derek came by to say goodbye. You sure about this? He asked. Yeah, I said. I need a fresh start. Where are you headed? Montana, I said. Tom offered to sell me some land. I'm gonna build something. Small. Simple. Derek smiled. That sounds perfect, man. We hugged. Stay in touch, Derek said. I will, I said. I got in my truck, started the engine, looked in the rearview mirror one last time, and I drove away. Away from Seattle, away from Skylar, away from everything. And for the first time in months, I felt free. What would you have done in my place? Be honest. Montana in October is cold. The kind of cold that wakes you up, makes you feel alive. I'd been living in Tom's cabin for 3 weeks while my land was being cleared. 40 acres. Middle of nowhere. Mountains on 3 sides. A creek running through the property. Tom helped me design the build. Small house, 2 bedrooms, large windows facing east. You want to wake up with the sun, he said. Trust me. Construction started in early November. I worked alongside the crew most days. Framing, roofing, learning as I went. It felt good. Physical. Real. At night, I'd sit by the fire with my thermos and work on my laptop. I still had investments to manage, companies to advise, money to move. But now it was on my terms. No one looking over my shoulder, no one judging, no one assuming. Just me. One night, Ron called. Wanted to give you an update, he said. Go ahead. Skylar's lawyer dropped the countersuit threat. They're not pursuing anything further. Why? Because they realize they don't have a case, Ron said. And more importantly, the public narrative is shifting. What do you mean? People are digging into the story, Ron said. They found out about the $3 million settlement. Found out Skylar filed for divorce first. Found out she was the one who went public. And now she's getting torn apart online, Ron said. People are calling her a gold digger, saying she's lying. The sympathy she had, it's gone. I didn't feel good about that. I didn't feel bad either. I just felt nothing. Preston? Ron said. Yeah, I'm here. How are you doing? Really? I'm good, I said. Building a house, starting over. I'm actually happy. Ron was quiet for a moment. Good, he said. You deserve that. The house was finished in January. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, kitchen, living room, large porch, simple, clean, mine. I moved in on a Tuesday, unpacked my things, set up my workspace, hung a photo of my dad in the hallway. That night I sat on the porch with my thermos and watched the stars. No city lights, no noise, just silence. And I thought about everything that had happened. The divorce, The interviews, the public scrutiny, all of it felt like another lifetime. In February, I started taking on new projects, angel investments, advisory roles, a couple of partnerships with founders I believed in, but I was selective, intentional. I only worked with people who respected my boundaries, who valued substance over flash. I turned down more opportunities than I accepted, and it felt right. One afternoon, I got an email from a name I didn't recognize. Subject: "Thank you," I opened it. "Hi Preston, you don't know me. My name is Marcus. I'm 28. I live in Portland. I heard your story, not from the podcasts or the news, but from a friend who knew someone who knew you. I just wanted to say thank you. I was in a relationship for 4 years with someone who never saw me, who always wanted me to be someone else, someone more successful, more impressive. I stayed because I thought if I just worked harder, made more money, achieved more, she'd finally be proud of me. Then I heard what happened to you, and I realized it doesn't matter what you achieve. If someone doesn't value you for who you are, they never will. So I left 2 weeks ago. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the right thing. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you for showing me that it's okay to walk away, that self-respect matters more than trying to prove yourself to someone who'll never see you. Good luck with everything. Marcus." I read it 3 times, then I wrote back. "Marcus, thank you for sharing that. It takes courage to walk away from something that isn't working, even when you've invested years into it. You made the right choice. The hardest part is over. Now comes the good part. Building a life that's actually yours. Stay strong. Preston." I hit send, and I realized something. Maybe this whole thing wasn't just about me. Maybe it was about showing other people that it's okay to choose yourself, to set boundaries, to walk away from people who don't value you, even if it costs you something, especially if it costs you something. Spring came. The snow melted. The creek swelled. Wildflowers started blooming across the property. I planted a garden, built a fire pit, started running in the mornings. I felt stronger, clearer, lighter. Derek visited in April. "Damn," he said, looking around. "You built all this?" "With help," I said. "It's beautiful, man." We spent the weekend hiking, fishing, talking about everything and nothing. On his last night, we sat by the fire. "You seem different," Derek said. "How so?" "Happier," he said. "More at peace." "I am," I said. Derek smiled. "Good. You deserve it." In May, I got another email. This one from Skylar. I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. "Preston, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, and I understand why. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. For the interviews, the podcast, the lies. I was hurt and embarrassed, and I handled it terribly. You didn't deserve any of that. I've been in therapy for the past few months, trying to figure out why I did what I did, why I couldn't just let you go with dignity. I think I know now. I was scared. Scared that people would see me as the bad guy. Scared that I'd made a mistake. Scared that I threw away something good because I didn't know what I had. And instead of dealing with that, I tried to make you the villain. I'm sorry. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be. Skylar." I read it twice. Then I closed the laptop. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because there was nothing left to say. She made her choices. I made mine. And now we were both living with the consequences. That night, I sat on the porch with my thermos. The sun was setting, painting the mountains orange and pink. I thought about the past year, the pain, the struggle, the rebuild, and I realized I wouldn't change any of it because it brought me here, to this place, this peace, this version of myself. I picked up my thermos, took a sip, and I smiled because I finally understood. The best revenge isn't fighting back. It's building a life so good you forget why you were angry in the first place. What would you have done in my place? Be honest. Summer in Montana was perfect. Warm days, cool nights, long hikes, good coffee. I'd settled into a rhythm, work in the mornings, physical projects in the afternoons, reading at night. I wasn't checking the news, wasn't on social media, wasn't looking back, until Derek called in July. "You're not gonna believe this," he said. "What?" "Skylar lost her job." I set down my coffee. "What happened?" "Apparently her company didn't like all the public drama," Derek said. "The interviews, the podcast, all of it. They let her go. Said it was brand misalignment or some corporate speak." I didn't say anything. "That's not all," Derek continued. "Her friends have been distancing themselves. I heard from Rachel. You remember her? That Skylar's been calling everyone, trying to explain her side. But no one's buying it anymore. How do you know all this? I asked. Rachel reached out to me, Derek said. She wanted me to tell you that she's sorry. That she believed Skylar at first, but then she saw the full picture, the settlement, the timeline, everything. Okay, I said. Preston, are you listening? Skylar's life is falling apart. I heard you, I said. But what do you want me to do about it? Derek paused. I don't know. I just thought you should know. I appreciate it, I said. But her life isn't my responsibility anymore. 2 weeks later, Ron called. Got some interesting news, he said. Yeah? Skylar's trying to sue her former lawyer, Patricia. For what? Malpractice, Ron said. She's claiming Patricia gave her bad advice, that she should have fought harder for more money in the settlement. Will it go anywhere? Doubtful, Ron said. She signed the settlement agreement voluntarily, had legal representation. It's a clean case, but it shows you where her head's at. Still blaming everyone else, I said. Exactly, Ron said. Some people never learn. In August, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Preston, it's Skylar's mom. I need to talk to you. Please call me. I stared at the message, thought about deleting it, but something made me call. She answered on the first ring. Preston, Mrs. Fletcher said. Her voice was different, softer, tired. What do you need? I asked. I need to apologize, she said. I waited. I was wrong about you, she continued. I believed Skylar's version of events without question. I blamed you, called you heartless, and I was wrong. Okay, I said. Skylar told me the truth last week, Mrs. Fletcher said. She told me about the $3 million, about how you never hid anything, she just never asked, about how she filed for divorce first. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you deserved better, she said. From her, from me, from all of us. I leaned back in my chair, looked out at the mountains. Mrs. Fletcher, I appreciate the apology, I said, but it doesn't change anything. What's done is done. I know, she said, but I wanted you to know that I see it now. What Skylar lost. And it wasn't the money. What was it? I asked. A good man, she said quietly. A man who loved her, who would have given her everything if she'd just asked. If she'd just seen you. I didn't respond. She's struggling, Preston, Mrs. Fletcher said. She's depressed, unemployed, alone. She destroyed her own life, trying to destroy yours. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I meant it. But that's not on me. I know, she said. I wanted you to know, that we see it now. Thank you, I said. I need to go. Preston? Yeah? I hope you're happy, she said. Truly. I am, I said, and I hung up. That night, I sat by the fire pit with my thermos. I thought about Skylar, about everything she'd lost, her job, her friends, her reputation, her peace. And I realized I didn't do that to her. She did it to herself, by choosing bitterness over grace, by choosing revenge over acceptance, by trying to rewrite history instead of learning from it. I thought about what Tom told me months ago. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is the best thing that could have happened. For me, the divorce was the best thing. It freed me, showed me what I didn't want, gave me clarity. But for Skylar, it destroyed her, not because I punished her, but because she couldn't let go. In September, I got one more email from Skylar. I almost didn't open it, but I did. Preston, I know I don't have the right to ask you for anything, but I need help. I've been unemployed for 3 months. I'm running out of money. My savings are almost gone. I know you gave me $3 million. I spent most of it on legal fees, therapy, and trying to keep up appearances. I'm not asking for more money. I'm asking for advice. You always knew how to manage finances, how to invest, how to build. I don't know what to do. Please. Skylar. I read it 3 times. Then I wrote back. Skylar, I'm sorry you're struggling, but I can't help you. Not because I'm angry, but because you need to figure this out on your own. You spent 5 years watching me build something from nothing. You had access to the same knowledge, the same resources, the same opportunities, but you never asked, never learned, never cared. You can't ask me to save you now. Find a financial advisor, take a course, read a book, do the work. You're smart, you're capable, but you need to stop looking for someone else to fix your life. Good luck. Preston. I hit send, and I closed the laptop. That was the last time I heard from her. October came. 1 year since the divorce papers were thrown at me. 1 year since everything changed. I stood on my porch with my thermos and looked out at the land, the house I built, the life I created, the peace I found. And I thought about karma. People think karma is about revenge. It's not. Karma is about consequence. Skylar's life fell apart because of her choices. My life came together because of mine. I took a sip of coffee. The sun was rising over the mountains, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Gratitude. Not for the money, not for the success, but for the lesson. Because I learned something important. The people who truly love you don't need to see your worth. They already know it. And the people who don't? No amount of proof will ever be enough. What would you have done in my place? Be honest. It's been 2 years since that morning in the lawyer's office. 2 years since Skylar threw those divorce papers at me. 2 years since everything changed. I'm sitting on my porch right now. Same thermos in my hand, same mountains in front of me. But everything else is different. The house is finished, fully paid off. I added a workshop last spring. A greenhouse in the fall. The garden produces more vegetables than I can eat, so I give them to Tom and the few neighbors I have out here. My investment portfolio is still growing. Quietly, strategically. I work maybe 20 hours a week now, advising startups, managing assets, saying no to most opportunities. I spend the rest of my time hiking, reading, building things with my hands, living, actually living. I talk to my mom every Sunday. She visited last month, stayed for a week. I'm proud of you, she said on her last day. Not for the money, for the peace. Thanks, Ma, I said. Your dad would be proud too, she said. You stayed true to yourself, even when it cost you. I thought about that a lot after she left, about what it cost me. A marriage, my privacy, 5 years of my life, but also what I gained. Clarity, freedom, self-respect, worth it. Derek still calls every few weeks. He got married last year, to a woman who actually sees him. She asks about my work, he told me once. Like, actually asks. Wants to know what I'm building, why I care about it. That's how it should be, I said. Yeah, Derek said. You taught me that. I haven't heard from Skylar in over a year. I don't check up on her. Don't ask about her. Don't think about her much anymore. I heard through Derek that she moved to California. Started over, got a new job. I hope she's doing better. I really do. Not because I want to be with her. Not because I forgive everything that happened, but because holding on to anger is exhausting, and I'd rather spend my energy building than destroying. Last month, I got another email from Marcus, the guy from Portland who wrote to me 2 years ago. Preston, I wanted to give you an update. I've been single for 2 years now. At first it was hard, lonely. I questioned whether I made the right choice. But then I started working on myself, therapy, hobbies, building a life I actually liked. And last month I met someone who asks about my day, who values my work, who sees me. I don't know where it's going, but I know this. I wouldn't have found her if I'd stayed in that relationship. Thank you for showing me it was possible to walk away. Marcus, I wrote back. Marcus, proud of you, man. You did the hard work. You earned this. Remember, the right person won't make you prove your worth. They'll already see it. Stay strong. Preston. I get emails like that sometimes, from people who heard the story, who were in similar situations, who needed permission to leave. I don't respond to all of them, but I read everyone, and it reminds me, sometimes your pain becomes someone else's permission. Your story becomes their courage. Your choice becomes their blueprint. I've been thinking a lot about what I learned from all of this, about marriage, money, self-worth, and here's what I know now. You can't make someone see your value. You can be successful, kind, generous, hardworking, and it won't matter if they've already decided you're not enough. Money reveals character. It doesn't create it. Skylar didn't change when she found out about the money. She just showed me who she always was. The right person won't need proof. They'll see you, believe in you, value you. Before the success, during the struggle, after the win. Walking away isn't giving up. It's self-respect. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let go of someone who doesn't value you. Karma is real, but it's not revenge. It's consequence. Skylar's life fell apart because of her choices, not because I punished her. And my life came together because of mine. People ask me sometimes if I regret the marriage. I don't, because it taught me what I don't want. It showed me what real love isn't, and it gave me the courage to build something better. I picked up my thermos this morning. Same one I've had for years. Navy blue, dented, worn. It's been with me through everything. The garage, the marriage, the divorce, the rebuild. And I realized this thermos is like my life. Not flashy, not perfect, but consistent. reliable, mine. So here's my final thought. If you're in a relationship where you feel invisible, where you're constantly proving yourself, where you're valued only when it's convenient, leave. I know it's hard. I know it hurts. I know you've invested time, energy, love, but staying costs more than leaving. Staying costs your peace, your self-respect, your future, and you deserve better. I'm 33 now, single, successful, peaceful. Will I get married again? Maybe. If I meet someone who sees me, not the money, not the success, not the potential, just me. Until then, I'm good. I have my land, my work, my coffee. I have my peace. And that's worth more than anything. The sun's coming up now. The mountains are turning gold. I take a sip from my thermos, and I smile, because I finally understand. The best revenge isn't making them regret losing you. It's building a life so good you forget they ever existed. My name is Preston West. I'm 33 years old, and this is the story of how I lost a wife who never saw me and found a life that finally feels like mine. Thanks for sticking with me till the end. If this story hit home, subscribe and stay around. Sometimes a story like this is all someone needs to feel less alone.